We speak. Our words. We listen.
We speak. Our words. We listen.
We speak. Our words. We listen.
We speak. Our words. We listen. Well, this is an Autistic Association production for Autistic Radio. Today we are joined by Colette Ryan, who is a DIR Floortime practitioner. Colette, can you introduce yourself and tell us how long you've been sort of working in DIR Floortime?
Again, my name is Colette Ryan. I live in the U.S. in New York State. I've been a floor timer for about 27 years. I was originally a special education teacher. I changed careers midlife to infant mental health. I'm an infant mental health endorsed therapist in New York State. I'm an infant mental health fellow at Montclair State University in New Jersey. And I am a doctoral student at Fielding University in California.
Wow, so you are very qualified. You're coming today to us with a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge, and we're really grateful to you for sharing that with us. So for the benefit of probably everyone, can you tell us what DIR floor time is?
I would love to. So floor time is an intervention that's used to promote individuals' development through respectful and playful and joyful and trusting interactions. We use the power of relationships to promote engagement and communication, thinking skills, symbolic thinking and logical thinking, because we know that all learning happens in the context of a relationship. Floor time is used with infants, toddlers, preschoolers, school-aged children, young adults, even into older adulthood. It's a lifespan model. And while it's really, really beneficial for individuals with autism, it's actually for those who are neurodiverse and predictably developing. When we went into lockdown for the pandemic and I couldn't play with individuals anymore in person, I started floor timing our dog, and it even worked for him.
Well, that is probably maybe the subject for another PhD, perhaps. If the first one isn't too much hard work, then maybe moving DIR floor time into the veterinary sphere. Maybe that's a new angle.
And we're also looking at supporting individuals with Alzheimer's and dementia through use of the DIR floor time model, because it's all about development. It follows the natural progression, the trajectory of development. And Dr. Greenspan, who developed the model with his colleagues many years ago, he provided us with 16 developmental capacities that go through life. I particularly usually work the first 6 capacities with individuals that I see, particularly through my infant mental health specialty, because it's all about relationships there. And that's what floor time supports, is the development of relationships, because we look at individual differences to make sure that our relationships feel good to the individual that we're with. I attuned to what they need, what the individual that I'm with, what do they need? Do they need me to be quiet? Do they need the lights down? Do they need to be able to move around while I'm talking to them? And so I consider all of those individual differences, along with trauma and culture and their visual, spatial, or medical needs, in order to get these really great relationships of trust and safety and caring. And I use my secret weapon, what I call my secret weapon, and that's my affect. Affect is what entices an individual and makes them feel safe and secure in an attuned relationship.
It's really interesting that you say that about working, that this approach works with older adults who are experiencing cognitive decline, because coincidentally, that's almost how we had to interact with my dad, who developed dementia. And it was all about making sure that our affect was giving him the right input, because he became very sensitive to even the slightest hint of anger or frustration could really upset him. So it's very interesting what you say there. We've completely veered off track really early on, so I'll steer us back on, and we'll maybe come back to that. So how does the Floortime model help autistic people learn like usable life skills? How do you make sure that the skills that they learn in the play transfer into real life situations?
Well, I think the first thing to think about is life skills. What does that mean? That's going to mean something different for each individual. And as a floor timer, I don't teach a skill. I provide the environment and the learning supports that need to happen so that individual can develop life skills. If I'm working with an individual, I always need to attune myself to get a good fit with them, to provide them with the safety and regulation that allows them then to engage with me. And then from that engagement, we get to use communication and problem solving, and then symbolic thinking and logical thinking. And when we have all of those skills, now we can develop life skills at our own pace and develop the ones that we want to develop and not ones that are specifically taught to us. I think about being able to bake a cake, which for me is definitely a life skill. You gotta be able to make a cake. But the directions on making the cake may need to be altered or attuned to each individual. And so I might have to bring my volume down in my directions, slow my pacing down, think about the use of words that I use, and does my interactive partner have the meaning making of those words and the directions that are provided to make the cake? Do they need to be sitting or standing or be moving when we make this cake? And does the individual have the brain budget at this particular moment to be able to stay in the moment and make the cake? So it's not so much teaching the skill, but it's providing the means to develop that skill on our own.
So you're building the foundation on which people can develop the skills that are relevant to them, I suppose.
Yes, yes. And I do that by adjusting my affect. Affect is one of those words that when you know it, you say, oh, that's what affect is. But it needs some explanation, I think. I have been told I have a particularly high affect, which means that the emotions that you're seeing me portray are bigger. I might have a great big smile or a big frown, or I might get really silly and my volume will go up and I'll use my whole body to jump around to express the emotion that I'm feeling. But for some individuals, I have to change that a little bit. I might have to bring myself down and maybe not use so much of my body, but just my face, just my eyes even, or the tone of my voice. I think attunement is a big part of being a floor timer. So I'm going to attune to the affect that my interactive partner needs from me.
That's a really good explanation. I think that makes it very easy to understand. I know one of the kind of stereotypes of autistic people is that we have a flat affect, so we don't as much, or perhaps not in the same ways as neurotypical people, although there are some autistic people, myself included, who can often be quite big in their affect. Yeah.
Yes, but I would assume that when you're with someone who has a difficulty with your big affect, you attune it in a different way.
Yeah, absolutely. Had to do that with Dad, yeah.
Yes. So both people in the interaction feel comfortable now. We've got this shared experience that feels good to both of us.
Cool. That's really well explained. Thank you, Colette. So you described DIR floor time as an intervention, and the ABA, Applied Behaviour Analysis, or PBS, are also described as interventions. Can you explain what the difference is between the DIR floor time model and what people might know of ABA.
And it's interesting that I used the word intervention because I don't typically use that word. So I'm wondering myself about that word. I usually consider this a framework, a way to support individuals of all diversities and all predictably developing individuals. I think the biggest difference between Floortime and ABA is that Floortime is a developmental model, where ABA is a behavioral model. And we now know from all this wonderful research that's been coming out that autism is a neurodevelopmental difficulty and not a behavioral difficulty. So my wondering goes to, shouldn't we use a developmental model as opposed to a behavioral model with something that is neurodevelopmental? I also think that as a Floortimer, I don't teach specific skills. There aren't targeted skills as there are in ABA. As I said before, I support development so that the learning can happen. The other thing to think about is that Floortime is a parent-mediated model. Parents are the ones in charge. Parents are the ones that are the most important people in their child's life. So we work with parents to support them in understanding the individual differences of their child, understanding the best way that their child likes to have play or interactions, so that the parents can get those ooey gooey moments that we all love to get as parents.
You've clearly attuned to me very well, because my next question was going to be, can you explain the importance of the family relationship in DIR Floortime? And I think you already have, so that's great.
Yes, we are big supporters of the family and supporting families in, again, finding those ooey gooey moments that we all want to get. The organization that I work for is ICDL, the International Council on Development and Learning. And we have a home program that we provide for parents where they meet with a Floortime expert once a week for 12 sessions. And they provide videos, they get expert ideas, they get strategies, they get support. And again, how to get those moments with their child that they mean so much.
So it's less the child going and spending a few hours with a therapist who teaches them how to stack blocks, and more a whole family thing where you're building a relationship and a framework together.
Absolutely.
That develops the whole family relationship to support the child.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that sounds really wholesome.
Oh, and if we go back to your wondering about the stacking blocks, well, when we think about stacking blocks, we might think about building a tower, but with those blocks, and we might sit down and start playing with the child by stacking blocks. And if we do that, then we might miss the fact that the child actually wanted to make a train. So in Floortime, we follow the individual's lead. We follow the lead of our interactive partner. We meet them where they are, and we, again, attune there, but we do something called wait, watch, and wonder. We wait before we jump in. We watch what the individual is doing. We wonder about their intent, and then we start to interact with the individual on what they want to do.
Is that something that a parent could do? Is that an approach that a parent could take without having the input of a Floortime specialist or expert? Is it something that can be done without professional support?
Yes. I always say I hope I'm out of a job someday. I want all parents can do this, all caregivers, teachers. This is not about actually doing something. It's not scripted. You don't get the directions on how to do Floortime and then follow it step by step. Instead, this is a framework on how to be with an individual, how to support their individual differences in their development, how to develop those relationships that feel good to both individuals. And definitely parents can do this much better than a therapist could because of the intrinsic value of the relationship between parent and child.
I love the way you said you hope you're out of a job someday. That was really nice to hear.
If I don't work with a child again in my career, I'm okay with that as long as I get to work with parents and caregivers and teachers and therapists, so I can support them in learning Floortime so that they'll be able to use the model with the individuals that they're with.
Is there anywhere that parents could go, or people who are just generally interested in understanding this? Is there anywhere someone can go and have a look at resources where they can learn about how to do this?
Yes, our website, icdl.com, is full of free resources for individuals. Dr. Greenspan's radio shows that he did before he died are on there. Materials about the functional, emotional, developmental capacities, those capacities that I talked about earlier. That's all there. Lots of different research that we have that makes us evidence-based is all on our website. We offer free consultations to families so that they can meet with a Floortime expert and learn about Floortime and see if it's something that interests them. We have consistently decreased the cost of learning Floortime for parents and caregivers. We start with a class called a 101, which is a 12-hour class where you learn about the model. And then classes after that are more of the professional. Parents can take them, but they're towards a professional certification, or parents can audit them.
So this is something that anyone could kind of get into. How would somebody go into becoming a practitioner? Is it a case of learning all this stuff and then getting that accreditation?
Yes. I started my Floortime journey 27 years ago when it was all in person. So I learned from Dr. Greenspan and his partner at the time, Dr. Serena Weeder. I learned from them in person, but now we do everything online. There are times when we might do classes in person. If you're around the world, we do in-person ones very often all over the world. And parents can go and learn about Floortime. And that's how I started, was just to going to some of these classes. Then I took my certificate courses and became a Floortime expert, but I'm also a training leader for Floortime, for ICDL. So I teach classes for others to learn the model.
Okay, so if somebody was currently working as an ABA practitioner, how easy do you think they would find it to switch to the Floortime model?
I can guarantee that it's not going to be easy, but it's going to be very beneficial. And we have many individuals that have made the switch between ABA and Floortime.
What sort of things do they typically find the hardest habits to break?
You know, I very frequently sing while I'm teaching, and I always sing the line from Frozen that Elsa says, and it's, "Let it go, let it go." They have a hard time letting go of control and letting the child lead and tell us what they're interested in. We still have goals as Floortimers. We still have limit setting. We still have social niceties in Floortime. But we don't push that. We provide the environment that makes those things happen naturally. We don't teach specific skills, but we support the individual in the learning piece. And for many ABA individuals, they're used to setting out a strict list of things that happen, checking off how many times an individual is able to do a trial, and then going on to the next skill without thinking about generalizing the skill, or can I use this skill across different people, different situations. I think about the number of times that an ABA individual may be using flashcards. And so the individual can say, banana when they see a flashcard of a banana, but do they know the taste of a banana? Do they know the feel and the smell and how you have to peel a banana? And would they then know to ask for a banana when they're hungry? Not if you only know banana from a flashcard, but if you know a banana because you've experienced a banana, then you know a banana.
Nice. Very, very well put. Thank you. So do you have to kind of use the floor time methods to teach, to sort of retrain, as it were, retrain ABAers into the floor time?
Yeah.
Is it that kind of meta process?
Yeah. I'm very gentle with individuals who are making the switch because it is a hard and difficult road. And so I floor time them. I floor time individuals as they're making the switch from ABA. I support their feeling of safety, their ability to regulate around it and engage with things that are very different from what they thought they knew about learning.
And then they see the penny drop and they understand why it works because they've been through it now from the participant side.
And they see the joy. They see that the individual is playing and interacting and having fun with us, not because they're going to get a sticker or an M&M. It's because of the relationship.
Fantastic. Thank you. That's really, really clear information. Now, I have a question from Jules in the chat. How does the word empathy relate to floor time?
Oh, I love that question. So we know that through development, empathy starts in different ways than how it ends up being. So what we think about with the word empathy is, how does it begin to happen? How does it start? And how does it develop into being that empathetic individual that we all look for in citizens of the world? So we know that at certain capacities, particular capacity 4 of the functional emotional developmental capacities, an individual is starting to understand somebody else is crying. I can see that. I can see they're crying. I don't know why they're crying, and I don't know how to help them, but I can see they're crying, and I'm going to understand that and recognize that. Then when we get up to a higher capacity, capacity 5, which is more symbolic thinking, we're going to see that friend of ours crying, and we see them crying. We know the feeling. We might not know why they're crying, but we understand the feeling now, and we might go over and support them, hug them, do what is needed to make them feel better. But then when we get up to the next capacity, capacity 6, that's when we're able to look at this friend of ours who's crying, and we can start taking their perspective and think, oh, they're crying. I should hug them because their ice cream dropped on the ground and now they can't eat it. So I can understand why they're upset now, so I can go and comfort them.
And do you think this is something that's within the reach of all autistic people? Because one of the stereotypes that we know is not true is that we lack empathy, or that we lack certain types of empathy. You've seen this work then?
Absolutely. And we all know that that's not an appropriate thing to say about another human being, but it's also not developmentally correct. We all can develop empathy. It might look different for different people because they may not quite understand it yet, but it's definitely there.
Yeah, we absolutely, there's the potential. Presuming competence and presuming potential is really, really important, just generally with interacting with other human beings. So it's really nice to hear you explain it that way, because I think that's when people listen to this, they'll initially go, well, you can't teach an autistic person empathy because they can't do it. So it's really nice to have that spelled out like that.
And I also think that we shouldn't think about teaching someone social skills, because that doesn't really work. As a floor timer, I support the development of social skills by providing what the individual needs, attuning to how they like interactions to be, finding an interactive partner that is going to be a good match for the individual.
That's absolute music to my ears. Yeah, the issue of teaching social skills is an interesting one. In my opinion, that just teaches you to mask, and that can be a useful skill, but it doesn't get you anywhere as a person.
Oh, and
Um,
masking is so hard, and you lose
yeah,
all of your brain energy because you've masked for so long that when it comes time to maybe you've left school and you get to stop masking, go home, you have no energy for interactions at home because you've used all of your brain budget through the masking.
oh, brain budget. That one's getting locked away for future use. I love it. Brain budget. Yeah, yeah, great phrase.
I had social skills in adolescent unit, and it was just they didn't think they needed to tell anything about thinking what to say if you were supposed to start a conversation. Then they wondered why there are two of us in the video sort of itching in our chairs and not getting anywhere. I'm wondering how you do this matching up of so the person is going to suitably reciprocate. If there is a way to match it up and it's not just trying people in turn, what sort of clues can you spot?
Yes. And I don't look at a diagnosis because a diagnosis doesn't tell me anything for an individual. I look at a profile. So I will profile an individual and look and watch and observe over many interactions with them to see how do they like their world the best, what are their individual differences, and where are they developmentally. I might have a 4-year-old who is developmentally around a 2-year-old age, and they don't like things that are loud. So I'm not going to partner them with a rambunctious 2-year-old child, 3-year-old child, or 4-year-old child to play with because the interaction won't feel good. And our 4-year-old may either start masking or they may shut down. They may lose their feeling of safety. So I'm going to find an individual who might not be quite as loud and rambunctious in play and will be able to play at the child's level. Dr. Greenspan very often said the best players were 9-year-old girls because they still had their affect and they were still excited about playing. Sometimes I can match a 4-year-old with a 2.5 or 3-year-old or an empathetic 5 or 6-year-old, but I'm always going to match them according to their profile.
So it's the point, I suppose, of teaching social skills training. The end goal of that is to allow people to make friends and interact with other people. But actually, by matching your participants, clients, whatever you want to call them, you are attaining the goal of they are interacting with another person, they are making friends, and they haven't needed to learn any masking. They haven't needed to be. No one's needed to be forced into anything. They have just been matched with somebody who complements them, which yeah, you're kind of you skip all of the bullshit of going through people that turn out to be wrong for you. This
Absolutely.
sounds amazing.
I
Yeah.
and I think about myself, or any of us in the group, if we go to a party and on one side of the room there's people talking about car parts and another side of the room there's people talking about sewing, I'm going to want to go to the sewing group because that's my interest. I also am a quilter. So why would we pair people just because they're in a room together if they have no interests together?
That's a really good way, really understandable way of putting it. Yeah, I love it. The thing with ABA, as you say, is that you have these checkpoints of, okay, we've ticked that box and the individual's done this number of times, and that serves as a form of proof that it's, in inverted commas, working. I mean, I don't think that's proof anything's working. I think it's proof that you've ticked some boxes. So how does Floortime, how do you show the kind of proof that it's worked without using numbers and graphs and statistics?
Well, there are subnumbers and some graphs and some statistics. Many of those, though, are around what we call the FEAS, or the Functional Emotional Assessment Scale, which is, it allows us to understand and score individuals on their development. We also will do a lot of pre and post as far as play skills are concerned. Parent self-efficacy, which is my area of expertise, is where my research is on parental self-efficacy. So being able to support individuals in moving up the developmental roadmap and using the FEAS or Dr. Greenspan's social emotional growth chart, using those as a way to score the differences pre and post. There's many different studies that have been done, and they're on the ICDL website, icdl.com/research.
And how does the amount of research into Floortime compare to the volumes and volumes of research into ABA? Is it catching up?
It is catching up. It is catching up. The research on ABA is, and very often it is funded by ABA organizations. So there have been many more ABA agencies that have come up in the past several decades, more than there has been of DIR Floortime. However, currently at ICDL, we are teaching more classes, more individuals, providing services to families, to caregivers, to schools, to teachers, and to therapists. We support as mentors to individuals who are providing this model. So we know that it's there, that it's working, and there is research now that's showing that it is working.
That's one of the hoops you have to jump through, is showing that it works.
Yes, and there are studies. 2011 was when the study from the York University came out. 2014 was when Dr. Rick Solomon's research came out showing the benefits of Floortime. In 2016, Dr. Ira Glavinsky and Dr. Julie Seeley came out with a study showing the increase in parental self-efficacy and their ability to reflect on their child's needs by using the Floortime model.
So it's been one of these gradual uphill pushes to tip the balance, with those dates being spread over years. I mean, getting enough of you to be noticed and make an impact.
And Floortime has taken me all around the world. Italy, England, Hong Kong, Bangkok, Thailand, Japan. We see people from all over the world at the DIR Institute in Livingston, New Jersey. They come for an intensive week of Floortime with us, from Romania, from Japan, Chile, Canada, Ireland, England, the Netherlands.
My concern is about the money. Usually when you look into something, you follow the money. And it appears to me that ABA has some kind of relationship to the capitalist model of our society. Why is it that ABA has so much funding in comparison to Floortime?
I believe that it's because of the early research that was done by Dr. Lavas and his team that showed that ABA, quote unquote, worked for individuals on the autism spectrum. And the more you did it, the more the benefits. And so insurance companies and agencies were paying for anywhere from 20 to 40 hours of ABA a week. I think now Floortime is becoming more popular because we don't advocate for 20 to 40 hours a week of intense intervention. We look at providing the information on the framework, how to be with your child. And if there is a therapist coming in to support you, it might be as little as 1 hour a week, maybe 5 hours a week, but much, much less expensive than doing a 20 to 40 hour a week intervention. In the US, it's now, in several states, it's now being paid for by insurance and Medicare.
So if I put it in capitalist terms, ABA was first to market.
Mm-hmm.
They cornered the market, and now they have a monopoly.
Mm-hmm.
And as time has progressed, and as research has moved forward, and as our understanding of the human condition has moved forward, Floortime is now the David against the Goliath.
Yes. Yes.
And it's cheaper, which means it's got a big fight on its hands if it's going to make any headway in sort of single payer healthcare. Not single payer, the American model. I can't remember what it's called. Yeah, the insurance based model. I think it may appeal more in countries with socialized healthcare, for want of a better phrase, because it's less intensive. It's costing less money to the payer.
Yes.
Which is what generally we're looking at.
Mm-hmm.
You want something that's effective but that doesn't cost a lot, and that's what DIR Floortime can do.
Absolutely.
So the irony is that in a capitalist system, something that is cheaper gets less investment because there's less money to make out of it in the end. Bluntly, if we're talking about healthcare as a business, then the blunt thing is that Floortime is too cheap and it's too accessible by people with resources that are freely available to them. They may get benefit from help from a registered practitioner or from a therapist, and that might improve what they do, but they can actually follow the principles of Floortime on their own. So there's the difficulty, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I think if we looked at the ABA agencies here in the US right now, many of them are for profit. But ICDL, the home of DIR Floortime, is non-for-profit.
That's a very illuminating discussion there, isn't it, about why things are done in certain ways in certain places.
Yes.
Now there are many ways you could sort of take on take issue with ABA. The one I personally focus on more is the issue of social validity, which is why DIR Floortime really appeals to me as an alternative. Social validity in ABA is very low. It's therapist directed. It's you must jump through these hoops, you must stack these blocks in this order.
Yes.
With no relevance really to the real world and no benefit to the person being therapized.
Right.
Whereas when you with Floortime following the wants of the child or the person that's being worked on and with the family being involved as well, to me it's quite easy to demonstrate quite a high degree of social validity in this approach,
Mm-hmm.
because you are working with the person, not on the person. I'm kind of borrowing that phrase a bit from the credo for support. Do not work on me, work with me.
Yes.
And I can see Floortime does that.
Absolutely. And when we work with an individual, we do that in a way that feels good to them. And that makes all the difference in the world. If the requirement is for me to stock 10 blocks, and stacking those 10 blocks is going to feel really uncomfortable for me, I'm not going to be able to do it. But if I stack blocks with someone who's really excited about us stacking the blocks, and if we get 2 blocks done, that's a great, look at this. This is so great. We got 2 on top. Instead of requiring the 10, again, now it feels good.
Well, thanks, Colette. That's been really, really interesting information you've given us, and a really interesting discussion that, as in the inimitable autistic radio style, we have covered many different angles. We've followed the garden path all the way around the garden, and we've stopped to smell the flowers at times. I'll stop with this metaphor now and say thank you to Colette. Is there anything you want to finish with?
I thank you for having me, of course, and I love to talk about floor time. If anyone has any questions at all, or wonderings as we call them in floor time, please feel free to reach out. My email is cryan@icdl.com.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you.